The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, friends, and warm welcome on this special webinar on analysis of budget on 1st February at 6 o'clock. We are very enthusiastic to welcome all our attendees. Friends, it's our proud privilege to have all the association together. We welcome all the association. Thank you so much joining all at today's session. First, would like to invite CMA Arshad Deshpande sir, immediate past chairman of WRC of ICMI, for welcome address. So over to you, Harshad Deshpande sir.
Thank you very much, Virag Bhai, for having this webinar on this budget on the same day evening. And I'm really delighted to have so many organizations joining, and I'm seeing that one of the expert faculties are there. So even in the short time, we are able to hear some very insights about the budget. I am really excited to know about this, but I feel that this budget is perhaps the time has come that the budget gradually has becoming a kind of instead of tax provision, it is more of economic analysis. So I'm sure that the days to come, we all professionals, we have to get accustomed to, when we talk about budget, we always used to think about what will be the impact on the taxation. Now suddenly that from the revenue side, we are more focused on the expenditure side. We are more talking about the policies of the government. We will be more talking about how this money is going to spend. So the trend of this budget gradually has been shifted from the taxation to the economics, which is a very welcome step. And I'm sure that this budget, I feel that this budget is not of any surprise. There is nothing, very exciting or breaking news kind of a stuff. But this is how the budget should be: a smooth and gradual changes happening. So this is all about. So I'm really eager to hear from the experts. So thank you very much, all the learned speakers. I'm grateful to you for joining, and also thankful to the participants for gathering in large numbers. Over to you, Virag Bhai. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And now would like to invite Gulab ji, President IT Bar Association Bhopal, for welcome address. And would like to also request Gulab ji to introduce our opening remarks. Speaker C. Rajesh Mehta ji, one of the today's speaker. So over to you, Gulab ji. Gulabji, I think you are on mute. We are not able to listen you, sir.
थैंक यू विराग भाई। इस बजट के सेमिनार में आप सभी का स्वागत करते हुए मुझे हार्दिक खुशी हो रही है। मैं विराग भाई को धन्यवाद देता हूं जिन्होंने मुझे राजेश मेहता जी को इंट्रोड्यूस करने की अपॉर्चुनिटी दी है। वैसे राजेश मेहता जी किसी इंट्रोडक्शन के मोहताज नहीं है, वो वेल नोन पर्सनालिटी है। राजेश मेहता जी इज ए प्रैक्टिसिंग चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट since 1996 at Indore. He is renowned direct tax speaker across India on issue of TDS, TCS, capital gain, search and seizure. His article and views on income tax provision are frequently published in Tax Newsletter magazine and online forum. He held position of National Vice President of the All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, year 2020 and 21. He was chairman All India Federation Tax Practitioner, year 2018 and 19. Thank you, Virag ji. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. So with this, we would like to invite now Rajesh Mehta ji for opening remarks for today's session.
Thank you, Virag ji. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
sir,
you,
yes.
Virag ji. First of all, congratulations for organizing today's webinar immediately on the first day of the presentation of the budget, just after 3-4 hours of presentation of the budget. And we are having a renowned speaker from India, Naveen Khariwal ji, and we are highly fortunate to have his time today available with us. We are having renowned personalities of India, various tax bar association office bearers are here with us, and Mradul Arya ji, Naresh Dhupka is here, Bachchan Acharya ji, Surendra Mehta ji, Manoj Parekh ji, Gulab Kedia ji, Dilkhush Shah ji, and all other participants from various tax bars. Today, so many amendments have been made. In the budget speech, there were no much discussion about those amendments, but there have been so many important amendments, and which needs a long time for discussing those all important issues. Some of the issues like denial of expenses incurred for exempted income. If there is no income, then earlier there were so many judgments in which it has been held that if there is no income, then there cannot be no denial of any expenses incurred for earning the exempted income. Now clarification has been introduced with effect, retrospective effect from the year 2005-2006. Same 194 IA, there was controversy whether the TDS has to be deducted on the stamp duty value or not. So they had word only on the consideration. So now they have removed that thing, and they have kept it at par with the section 50C and 43CA, where stamp duty value has to be taken. But there will be problem that under section 50C and 43CA, they have given leverage of 10%, but that leverage has not been given presently here under this 194 IA. They have directly stated that on the stamp duty value, TDS has to be deducted. There have been so many amendments in the trust. Section 1023C 12AB provisions have been amended to a great extent. So there were some of the amendments which were not there in the 1023C, which have been incorporated. I am sure that Naveen Khariwalji would be discussing all. However, the trust amendments itself need a long time. But I think Virag Bhai will keep another webinar of Naveen Khariwalji also, because only trust amendments need a minimum 2 hours. But important issues will be covered by our respected Naveen Khariwalji. And faceless assessment has been fully, section 144B has been changed. Section 68, 115BB is the very favorite section of our Naveen Khariwalji. He has given so many lectures across India on the 115BB. Now in this budget, they have stated that there will not be any set-off of losses out of any income declared during the course of survey, any undisclosed stock found during the course of survey. So this amendment gives us one clue that if any income surrendered or found out of undisclosed income, undisclosed cash during the survey, cannot be covered under 115BB, because they have told that under section 68, 69 and 69B already there is 115BB, and there is under 115BB already they have told that there will not be any set-off of losses. So indirectly there can be a clue that any income disclosed during survey for excess of the stock or excess of the cash will be covered only at the rate of 30%, only at the normal rate of income. So this can be a clue. However, the time will tell that what is the issue. And now they have, in the case of salaried employee, perquisites were taxable in the same way. In the hands of businessmen, the perquisites have been made taxable by this budget under section 28 clause 4. So there have been so many amendments which need a lot of discussion, and we are fortunate enough to have a renowned and very expert speaker of India, Naveen Khariwalji. So I am thankful to Virag Bhai inviting Naveen Khariwalji on this platform, and all the participants will have very deep benefit of deep discussion by Naveen Khariwalji. So thank you, Viragji, and thanks to all the participants.
Thank you so much, sir, for a brief opening remarks. We'll also listen to you again at the end of the session during question answer session also. Now would like to request Mradul Arya ji, Tax Law Bar Association Bhopal, to have opening remarks. Mradul ji, please in a brief welcome.
जी धन्यवाद विराग जी, सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जैसे राजेश मेहता जी ने कहा, क्योंकि जो मंत्री जी वहाँ लोकसभा में बोलते हैं वो तो शायद बिल्कुल बोलते ना सिनॉप्सिस में 2-4 लाइनें पढ़ देते हैं, बाकी अंदर अंदर क्या है वो तो पढ़ने में पता पड़ता है किताब के अंदर क्या क्या छुपा है। अब मेहता जी ने बहुत अच्छा शायद मतलब फटाफट सब देख भी लिया है कि जो एक एक सेक्शन का उन्होंने बताया कि इन सेक्शन में चेंज हो गए हैं। ये चेंजेस सब हिडन होते हैं जो सामने नहीं आते। पेपर में तो वही सकता है कि बजट में 2.5 लाख का 3 लाख हो गया, कि एटीसी में 1.5 का 2 हो गया। पेपर वालों को उसी में ही मजा है, लेकिन हम लोग को तो सेक्शंस में इंटरेस्ट है कि कहाँ क्या चेंज हुआ और उसको क्या इफेक्ट हमारे ऊपर आने वाला और हमारे क्लाइंट्स के ऊपर आने वाला है। तो वो मैं समझता हूँ कि हमारे जो स्पीकर हैं नवीन जी वो उस पर सब प्रकाश डालेंगे और आगे भी फिर हम लोग और भी करेंगे कि क्या क्या चेंजेस आए, कि हमको तो उसी में ही ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट है। मैं सबका वेलकम करता हूँ और आगे विराग जी टेक आउट करते हैं। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सो मच।
हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए गुलाब केडिया जी से, उस समय शायद उनका नाम बोलना भूल गया था मैं। गुलाब केडिया साहब।
जी सर, धन्यवाद सर।
नेक्स्ट practitioners association Vachan Acharya ji, joint secretary, we welcome you sir. We also would like to say Vachan Acharya ji, आप कुछ वेलकम करना चाहेंगे सर? Vachan Acharya
जी, सभी का मैं स्वागत करता हूं। क्या आप सुन पा रहे हैं?
जी
सुन पा रहे हैं?
जी सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही है।
इस सभी का स्वागत करता हूं और आज हमें बहुत सी बातें बजट को लेकर के समझ में आएंगी। मैं आपको वापस दे रहा हूं विराग जी।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। मनोज पारेख जी सेक्रेटरी को मैं वेलकम करता हूँ, रिकॉग्नाइज करता हूँ उनका प्रेजेंस। और अभी हम जा रहे हैं सी दिलसुख जी शाह के पास, सेक्रेटरी 13 प्रोफेशनल फोरम मुंबई। सर वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट यू, आप सभी का स्वागत करें और मैं आपको रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप हमारे आज के गेस्ट सी सुरेंद्र मेहता जी को भी वेलकम करें, उनका इंट्रोडक्शन करें। ओवर टू।
थैंक यू विराज जी। Am I audible, Viraj ji?
हाँ जी।
Yes, sir. So, good evening and welcome to all. Respected our today's main speaker, Sri नवीन जी खरीवाल जी। सर, अभी बजट का प्रोग्राम है तो नवीन जी जस्ट एक बताना चाहूंगा कि मेरे पास 5-10 फ्लायर अलग अलग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से आए हैं, उसमें से 4 फ्लायर में तो आपका नाम है। 4 तारीख, 6 तारीख, 8 तारीख, आपका हर जगह नाम ही नाम है, जहाँ देख रहे हैं नवीन जी है। So our today's speaker Sri Naveen ji, our Sri Surendra ji Mehta, National Secretary IBJ, Sri Rajesh ji Mehta, Sri Naresh ji Dhoot, CA Virag Bhai, and the dignitaries of all organization. Very good evening and warm welcome to this full packed budget analysis seminar, because this is first time that we are holding this seminar on the same day. Last year with Ved Jain sir we had a seminar on the next day, but Virag Bhai is day by day progressing, and I think next time he will organize parallel with the budget only this seminar. So not taking much time and just directly coming to the task given to me. Surendra ji Mehta is not a new name for us, as you all know. If Mumbai, if there is any jewelry seminar, then there is a fair chance that 90% you will find Surendra ji Mehta's name in that flyer. Yes, so that is the thing. So that tells all about him. He has been appointed as being a chartered accountant. He has been appointed as a national secretary of 101-year-old Association of India Bullion and Jewelers Association since 2012. He was pioneer in converting Old Bombay Bullion Association, that is BBA, to India Bullion and Jewelers Association. He has in-depth knowledge of gold ecosystem and has delivered more than 500 lectures on gold policy, GST, hallmarking, bullion exchanges, etc. He is one of the key person for giving the idea about gold monetization scheme and SGB scheme. He is an on-product advisory committee of MCX, NSC, BSC. He represents Government of India on behalf of IBJ for all national issues related to gold. He was key person to get IBJ gold benchmark rated approved with RBI and Ministry of Finance. Currently, no bank can lend money against gold jewelry except on IBJ rates as per various notification of RBI. Further, as per Government of Gazette notification of Ministry of Finance, SGB bond can be issued and redeemed at IBJ rates. He regularly features on various media channels to give his candid views on gold. He quotes and writes up in print media are most awaited in jewelry industries. He is said to be a master in interpretation of law related to gold industry. He is also steering committee of World Gold Council for setting up bullion exchange and bullion bank. IBFC has set up its offices in 31 states under his able leadership. He is considered to be expert in forecasting gold spot market. He is also part of gold standards set up by different exchanges. He is key person in implementing OECD guidelines by gold industry. So that's all about our own Surendra Ji Mehta that I have heard him so many times on TV channels and what to say. So thank you, sir. Welcome you once again. Over to Viraj Ji.
सुरेंद्र जी का मैं स्पेशल स्वागत करता हूँ। और सुरेंद्र जी के जो प्रेडिक्शंस है गोल्ड और सिल्वर पे वो आज तक बिल्कुल सच गए हैं। तो अभी ये बजट में जो जेम्स और इस पे जो आया है तो उनसे राय तो मिली है कि भाई इसका क्या इफेक्ट आने वाला है। जो इम्पोर्ट ड्यूटी वगैरह सब रिड्यूस किए जा रहे हैं। तो सुरेंद्र जी को आज मैंने आधे घंटे पहले एक शॉर्ट नोटिस पे इनवाइट किया है। तो आई एम थैंकफुल टू सुरेंद्र जी एंड योर गाइडेंस इज रिक्वायर्ड टू द पब्लिक एट लार्ज। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Anytime.
Surendra sir would like to request you to deliver your keynote address, sir.
Thank you, Naveen ji, thank you, Naresh ji, Acharya Bachchan Acharya ji, Virag bhai, Manoj Parekh ji, Karthik ji, Gulab Kedia ji, Rupesh Jain ji, Samir Chaudhary ji, thank you so much. नरेश जी और विराग जी बोल दे, मैं कहीं पे जा रहा था, उन्होंने कहा 10-15 मिनट के लिए आ जाओ, मैंने कहा नहीं मैं आ जाऊंगा, डोंट वरी। तो थैंक यू सो मच। देखिए ये बजट में जो मैंने देखा है और जो मैं रेगुलरली फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री, कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री, सेबी ये सबसे मैं डील करता रहता हूँ, तो मैं आपको ओवरऑल पर्सपेक्टिव बताता हूँ इस बजट का। जो मेरे लिहाज से जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज इस बजट में है वो हमें एक चीज ध्यान रखनी है कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी को सरकार ने इनडायरेक्टली मान्यता दी और आरबीआई खुद एक डिजिटल करेंसी लाने वाला है। ये हमारे देश के लिए अच्छा है या बुरा है ये तो शायद हमें 6 महीने बाद या 12 महीने बाद ही पता चलेगा। लेकिन अमेरिका में ये जो क्रिप्टो करेंसी, तो पूरे वर्ल्ड में क्रिप्टो करेंसी चली, तो इस क्रिप्टो करेंसी की वजह से आज आप अमेरिका में जाएंगे, आप लोगों का भी बहुत कनेक्शन होगा लोगों से अमेरिका में। तो ये जो क्रिप्टो करेंसी की वजह से जो लोग हैं वो काम ही नहीं करना चाहते, वो सिर्फ क्रिप्टो करेंसी में खेलते हैं क्योंकि उसमें इतना वॉलेटिलिटी है कि उनको उसी में मजा आता है। एंड दे मेक लॉट ऑफ मनी देयर, दे लूज आल्सो लॉट ऑफ मनी। और अमेरिका में तो क्या है, आपने पैसा खो दिया तो आपको अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट मिल जाता है, और आपने पैसा कमा लिया तो आपको जो टैक्स है वो दे दीजिए। तो ये स्टेप क्यों उठाया गया है हमारे देश में इसकी, जबकि आप पिछले 1-2 महीने तक हम यही सुन रहे थे कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी को बैन कर दिया जाएगा, लेकिन बैन करने की जगह पे उसको लीगलाइज्ड कर दिया कि आप टैक्स भर दीजिए, 30% टैक्स दे दीजिए। टैक्स भरवाना एक तरह से लीगलाइज्ड करना ही है। एंड वी आर नॉट ओनली अलाउइंग वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट्स, जो वर्ड यूज किया वो क्रिप्टो करेंसी ही होता है उसका मतलब, और भी शायद उनके दिमाग में कुछ ऐसी चीजें होंगी जिसके लिए उन्होंने डायरेक्टली वर्ड क्रिप्टो करेंसी यूज नहीं किया बल्कि वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट वर्ड यूज किया। जो दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया खुद डिजिटल करेंसी लाने वाला है, इसका भी क्या इंप्लीकेशन होगा, तो ये हमें बहुत समझना होगा। जो सबसे बड़ी चीज मैं देख रहा हूँ बजट के अंदर, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। नो डाउट द बजट स्टार्टेड वेरी वेल विथ प्राइम मिनिस्टर गति योजना, और उसमें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को लेके बहुत सारे उन्होंने अनाउंसमेंट किए, और ये बहुत ही वेलकम स्टेप था। और इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है कि हमारी कंट्री को इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है। अभी ये हो रहा है कि जब हम इंटरेक्शन करते हैं, हमारे गोल्ड इंडस्ट्री को लेके सरकार हमेशा खफा रहती है, इसलिए हमारा लगभग आप मान लीजिए हर वीक हमारा इंटरेक्शन होता है फाइनेंस से, कॉमर्स से, सेबी से, आरबीआई से,
कंज्यूमर अफेयर्स मिनिस्ट्री से हम लगातार बातचीत करते रहते हैं। क्योंकि आपको एक आंकड़ा देता हूं, आपको बहुत सरप्राइज होगा। पिछले एक साल में भारत ने 1050 टन गोल्ड इंपोर्ट किया है, विच इज इक्विवेलेंट टू 56 USD बिलियन डॉलर्स। और उसके सामने हमारे देश में FDI आया सिर्फ 53 बिलियन डॉलर। FPI और VC फंडिंग को मैं नहीं गिन रहा हूं। तो जितना FDI आता है उतना हम गोल्ड मंगा के खा चुके हैं, साफ कर चुके हैं। तो हमारा कोई पैसा बचता नहीं है, इसलिए सरकार हमसे रेगुलरली खफा रहती है कि भाई आप लोग कुछ कीजिए, लेकिन कुछ होता नहीं है, क्योंकि गोल्ड एक पैशन है। लेकिन ये क्रिप्टो करेंसी आने के बाद मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि गोल्ड की डिमांड कम से कम 1050 टन में से मुझे लगता है मिनिमम से मिनिमम ये डिमांड 100 टन तक तो फर्स्ट ईयर इटसेल्फ में ड्रॉप। क्योंकि हमने तो लास्ट 2 साल में ये देखा था कि जो यंग जनरेशन थी वो कोविड के बाद में थोड़ा थोड़ा गोल्ड में इंटरेस्ट लेने लगी थी, लेकिन ये क्रिप्टो करेंसी आने के बाद डेफिनेटली वो गोल्ड में इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेने वाले। और आपको ये भी बता दूं, ये बॉन्ड मार्केट वगैरह सब बहुत बड़ा हिट होगा, क्योंकि हर आदमी ये चाहेगा कि अरे 30% टैक्स, मुझे 1000 रुपया मिल रहा है तो 300 सरकार को भी दे दूंगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। वहां तो 1000 क्या लाखों रुपया मिलता है, और लाखों डूबता भी है। और डूबेगा तो सेट ऑफ होने वाला नहीं है, कोई बात नहीं, सेट ऑफ नहीं होगा, लेकिन बिकॉज दैट क्रिप्टो करेंसी में इतना रिस्क वो लेके उतना रिवॉर्ड भी है। तो आप जब रिस्क रिवॉर्ड करने के लिए कोई कोशिश करता है तो वो निफ्टी क्यों लेगा, वो क्रिप्टो करेंसी लेगा। वो किसी छोटे स्टॉक को क्यों लेगा, वो क्रिप्टो करेंसी लेगा। तो मैं बहुत सरप्राइज हो गया था। एक तरफ सरकार कहती है बुलियन एक्सचेंज शुरू कीजिए, और जो 1 ग्राम सोना है वो भी एक्सचेंज के थ्रू मिलना चाहिए, और दूसरी तरफ आप एक ऐसे एसेट क्लास को प्रमोट करना चाहते हैं जिसमें पीछे एसेट है ही नहीं। देयर इज नो एसेट। क्रिप्टो करेंसी इज नॉट बैक्ड बाय एनी एसेट, इट इज डन ओनली ऑन दी माइनिंग विच इज डन ऑन दी कंप्यूटर, पजल्स एंड ऑल दोस थिंग। तो आप लोगों को खैर पता ही होगा। वैसे बजट में अभी आजकल हमें एक्सपेक्टेशन था, जो मुझे एक्सपेक्टेशन था वैसा ही हुआ। GST is going to be the main feature henceforth, क्योंकि GST में इतना कलेक्शन आ रहा है, और GST में चोरी पकड़ना बहुत आसान है, जबकि ये जो दूसरे डायरेक्ट टैक्स के मेथड्स है उसमें चोरी नहीं पकड़ी जा सकती है, बहुत डिफिकल्ट होती है। तो सरकार का जो एंटायर फोकस है वो GST पे है। GST जो अभी 1,40,000 करोड़ आ रहा है, इनका ये टारगेट है कि धीरे धीरे इसको अगले 4-5 साल में इसको 2.5 लाख करोड़ तक लेके जाए। ये जब हम उनसे अनऑफिशियली बात करते हैं तो हमें कहते हैं, क्योंकि उनका आप रूरल इकोनॉमी को टैक्स नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन उनके GST कैसा है, एक बार आप खर्चा करेंगे तो आप कुछ ना कुछ तो सरकार को देने ही वाले, आप GST तो दे ही रहे। एक फार्मर भी है, वो कुछ नहीं देगा तो GST तो पक्का देगा। तो ये कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं। बाकी डायरेक्ट टैक्स के एक्सपर्ट यहाँ पर बैठे हुए हैं, मैं कुछ कहना नहीं चाहता। गोल्ड में उन्होंने कोई चेंज किया नहीं है। कट एंड पॉलिश डायमंड पे ड्यूटी उन्होंने घटा के 7.5% से 5% कर दी है, बट उसका सिर्फ एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट ही था, तो वो सिर्फ एक आई वॉश होता है। जैसे मैं आपको बताऊं, उन्होंने रोडियम पे ड्यूटी 12.5% से 2.5% कर दी। अरे रोडियम 5 करोड़ रुपए किलो है, और रोडियम 2 ग्राम रोडियम से कम 20 किलो ज्वेलरी की पॉलिशिंग हो जाती है, तो उसका इतना कंजम्पशन नहीं होता है, तो इट डज नॉट अफेक्ट। हाँ, कुछ कार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनियां रोडियम को जरूर यूज करती हैं। कुछ SEZ पॉलिसी में चेंज करने वाले हैं। वो चेंज इसलिए करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि जो अहमदाबाद में गिफ्ट सिटी है, गिफ्ट सिटी में जो इंटरनेशनल बुलियन एक्सचेंज आ रहे हैं, तो उनको पूरे कानून बदलने हैं। सेबी ने मुझे अपॉइंट किया था, ये कानून बदलने के लिए क्या क्या हमें करना पड़ेगा, उसमें बहुत सारे GST में अमेंडमेंट करने पड़ेंगे, बहुत कुछ हो रहा है। इसीलिए पूरी SEZ पॉलिसी को पूरा चेंज किया जाएगा। साथ ही हमने कहा था कि हमें जो गिफ्ट सिटी में इंटरनेशनल आर्बिट्रेशन सेंटर चाहिए, तो वो भी उन्होंने मान लिया है, इंटरनेशनल आर्बिट्रेशन सेंटर वो बना रहे। एक डायरेक्ट टैक्स में मैं एक जो मैं बार मेरी जब भी बात होती है तो मैंने कहा, लेकिन सरकार बिल्कुल उसको ध्यान नहीं देती। TDS और TCS सेक्शन 206C 1H एंड 194Q, मेरा मानना ऐसा है कि सेक्शन 206 ज्यादा बेटर था। आप 206C1H ज्यादा बेटर था, 194Q सेक्शन सही नहीं है। जैसे मान लीजिए कि आज HPCL या BPCL जैसे पेट्रोल पंप है, वो जब लाखों पेट्रोल पंप को माल सप्लाई करते हैं, तो वो HPCL BPCL वो TCS कलेक्ट कर सकता था, तो एक सिंगल एंटिटी TCS कलेक्ट कर सकती थी, उसकी जगह उन्होंने 1 लाख एंटिटी को TDS काटने के लिए लगा दिया। सो दिस इज आई थिंक मैं नहीं मानता कि ये चीज सही है। ये अनवांटेड टैक्स कंप्लायंस को बढ़ाना है, क्योंकि पेट्रोल पंप आपके कंट्रोल में ही है। जब आपकी गवर्नमेंट के ही सप्लाइंग एजेंसियों के पंप है, तो वो क्या कंट्रोल में नहीं है? उसी तरह हमारे बुलियन में भी है, 4 लाख ज्वेलर्स को TDS डिडक्ट करने के लिए लगा दिया, जबकि बैंक की गोल्ड इंपोर्ट करती है। अरे बैंक की TCS कलेक्ट कर ले तो दिक्कत ही क्या है? तो मुझे पता नहीं ये कौन इस तरह की पॉलिसी बनाता है। अल्टीमेटली दोनों के टैक्स रेट 1% है, दोनों में कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, दोनों में आपको TCS और TDS का इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न में डिडक्शन मिलता है। आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड हाउ डज इट मेक अ डिफरेंस। there are lot of things which you would like to hear from the other panelists. मेरा जो थैंक यू वेरी मच विराग भाई, नरेश भाई, आपने मुझे बुलाया और मुझे ये मौका दिया और आप सबसे मिलने का मुझे मौका मिला। थैंक यू वेरी मच। बट आई एम डेफिनेटली कंसर्न विद क्रिप्टो करेंसी थिंग, और हम सब एक एज पे है जहां पर हमें अपने बच्चों का ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा कि हम क्या उन लोगों को इस तरह से क्रिप्टो करेंसी में इन्वेस्ट, मैं ये तो नहीं कह सकता कि इन्वेस्ट करने दे, लेकिन हमें देखना होगा कि क्या हम उनको इस चीज की लत डाले जिस चीज में अंडरलाइन कमोडिटी है ही नहीं। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful keynote address, and very relevant that we should not adopt the culture that affect our young Indians. So we should definitely take care of all this aspect. Now मैं यहाँ पे recognize करना चाहूँगा नीलेश कुशवाहा जी का presence। वो बहुत बिजी शेड्यूल के बावजूद बता रहे। थैंक यू नीलेश भाई, आपकी हाजिरी।
सर धन्यवाद सर।
थैंक यू सो मच। मैं अभी कार्तिक जी को बुलाना चाहूंगा। कार्तिक जी, आपका वेलकम एड्रेस दीजिए। आप ऑल गुजरात फेडरेशन से है, सो ओवर टू यू कार्तिक जी।
I heartily welcome today's our honorable speaker CA Naveen Khariwal ji. We had the opportunity in the past to welcome sir physically in the budget session in Income Tax Bar Association, and I thank CA Virag Shah and CA Samir Chaudhary for joining AGFTC to this wonderful budget meeting, and I heartily welcome all the office bearers and presidents of renowned professional associations. Thank you so much for joining with AGFTC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, जी। एडवोकेट रुदान वकील जी, प्रेसिडेंट इनकम टैक्स बार एसोसिएशन अहमदाबाद, आपका स्वागत है सर। वेलकम एड्रेस के लिए आप बता रहे थे। वकील
Am I audible now, Virag?
Yes sir,
Hello. Yes, the founder of the Connect Easy, Mr. Virag Shah, President of AGFTC, Mr. Kartikeya Shah, President and Secretary of other co-organizations, Senior Vice President of AGFTC, Shri Renbhai, the Chief Guest of today's evening, Shri Vinitbhai Kothari, former Acting Chief Justice of High Court of Gujarat, CA Rajeshbhai Mehta, CA Naveenbhai Khariwal, CA Nareshbhai Dood, President, Chairman of all other organization, institution, ladies and gentlemen. I accord a very warm and cordial welcome to this chilly winter evening to all the dignitaries and dear friends. Honorable the Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, presented the Union Budget 2022 on the floor of the Parliament. It is indeed a matter of pride for me and particularly for Income Tax Bar Association that first webinar in the current activity year was taken up by eminent faculty, none other than but CA Mr. Naveen Khariwal. And today again fortunate enough to listen him on very first day of Union Budget 2022 announced. Friends, prima facie budget seems to be silent, but the technical proposals under direct tax laws are very much fastening and tightening the belt of the taxpayer. Government tried to curb every small loophole and not leaving any room for the taxpayer. If you look at the budget proposals regarding Section 40 AI, Section 43B, Section 68, Section 194 IA, Section 148, I am sure Navin Bhai will completely in agreement with me, and he will analyze, elaborate, and discuss the pros and cons of the every budget proposal. With these words, I once again welcome to one and all for attending this meeting.
Thank you so much, sir. And now I would like to invite the CA Samir Bhai for introduction for today's main speaker. We all are waiting for him, CA Navin Khariwal ji. So would like to request Samir ji to introduce Navin ji. Navin sir, we are not able to see you, sir. Please on your webcam, sir. Navin sir. Navin Khariwal sir. Yes, sir. So would like to request now Samir Bhai to welcome Navin Khariwal ji. Over to you, Samir Bhai.
Thank you, Viraj ji. And really, I appreciate that now the way you are conducting all the webinars is really excellent to enrich the knowledge of various peoples across the globe. It's really a phenomenal one, sir. Even I give my vote of thanks to all of the dignitaries of all the various platforms who are present over here. And when we are talking about, say, Navin Khariwal ji, which everyone says that he's a national speaker, by occupation he's a practicing chartered accountant in a firm measured H.C. Kincha and Company and H.C. Kincha and Associates. He hails from a family of chartered accountants where his grandfather, father, and brother all are chartered accountants. He specializes in direct taxes, co-opted member of the Direct Tax Committee of ICAI New Delhi for the year 2020-21. He is a member of Central Tax, Corporate Law, and GST Committee of Federation of Karnataka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Bengaluru. He is even a member in Finance Advisory Committee of the Karnataka State Cricket Association, Bangalore, Karnataka, and member of Study Circle and Study Group of Chamber of Tax Consultants, Mumbai. He has been nominated by Bangalore branch of SIRC of ICI to represent before Honorable Justice R.V. Iswar Committee of Simplification of Taxes. Even he is a coordinator moderator for Jignasa workshop on scrutiny, survey, summons, threats, and seizure, and even a speaker coordinator for various other Bangalore branches, and acted as a moderator of RRC, the Silent Soar Recorded Sabha, and he have taken more. He is a speaker at various branches of ICI, which is more than 40, which includes across India, and also taken at more than 16 forums here addressed till now. When talking about extracurricular activities, sir is an excellent cricketer where he has been present even in the Karnataka State Cricket Association as a team captain. With this warm introduction, Navin sir, I welcome you on behalf of Connect Easy and all the association across India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, now stage is all yours, sir. Entire virtual platform is all yours, sir. All are waiting for you, sir.
Thank you very much. CA Dilkush Shah ji, Secretary TP of Mumbai, Surendra Mehta ji, Naresh Toot ji, Bachchan Acharya ji, Joint Secretary of Bhopal Tax Practitioners Association, Manoj Parak ji, Secretary Tax Law Bar Association, Kartikeya Shah ji, Rupesh Jain ji, Nilesh Kushwaha ji, Mridul Arya ji, Samir Chaudhary ji, Gulab Kedia ji, and Viraj Shah ji, the founder Connect Easy, and my good friend Rajesh Mehta from Indore. I hope I have not missed anybody else's name, sir. Kindly forgive me if at all I have missed, if they have gone away from the screen. I am delighted to address, the members from across India of various tax and professional associations, including chartered accountants and advocates, on the budget 2022. Let me tell you, my dear friends, at the outset, Madam did not take more than 15 to 20 minutes for all the income tax proposals. But when you read the fine print, you have the fine print with me. There are around about 84 amendments in Income Tax Act. There are 84 amendments, I'm telling you. So for the practicing, for the general practice, all the amendments will not be that useful.
and some of the amendments may be relating to non-residents, transfer pricing, etc. So we will try to cover as many amendments as possible within the time limit assigned to me. Till what time we can go on, sir? We can go on up to 7:30, 7:45. Fine. Now, let me start my presentation, sir. Share. They have to allow one. Is my presentation visible, sir?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. It might. Friends. Yes, sir. Now we will go as per the memorandum, so that explanation will also be, we will try to explain the facts of the case. Now, this is a very good section, sir. Very good amendment is made, and new section is inserted in 139(8)(a). What is the sum and substance of this provision? My dear friends, all of you know, return of income is filed under 139(1), original return of income, belated return on 139(4), revised return under 139(5), revised return. So as you know earlier, the time limit, 1 year from the end of relevant assessment year was the time limit for belated return and revised return. And now that was further reduced by last Finance Act up to December. Mind you, it was December 21 only for filing a revised return, for filing a belated return, or for that matter, filing a return in under section 139(1). So now, what was happening? For example, 139(1) due date, there are various due dates: July, November, October, etc. So what was the time period available for filing a belated return, revised return? 5 months, 2 months. So this section, what has Madam introduced now, giving 139(8)(a), what is Madam telling us? 139(8)(a), they are telling, if a person, he has not furnished a return either under 139(1) or under 139(4), that is a belated return, or a revised return on 139(5), then he may furnish, what is this section called? It is called updated return. So he may furnish the updated return, even though the person who has furnished under 139(1) or under 139(4) or under 139(5) can still furnish a return called something called as updated return. When? What is the time limit? The time limit says within 24 months from the end of the assessment year. Now, what does the section further say? 139(8)(a) will not apply if the updated return, what I'm going to file, is a return of loss, or my tax liability is being reduced. What tax liability? What I filed under 139(1), my return income, what I filed under 139(1), 4 and 5, either that reduces. So it's telling you, in that case, you cannot exercise your right to file a return on 139(8)(a). Basically, a return under 139(8)(a) cannot result in a loss. Okay, or it cannot decrease your tax liability on the basis of the return already furnished under 139(1) original return, 139(4) belated return, or 139(5) revised return. Moreover, it also cannot result in a refund, or it cannot increase the refund basically due on the basis of the return filed under the 3 sections. Fair enough. Now, yes, sir. Now, again, what are the conditions is the 139(8)(a) return cannot be filed in the case of the following persons. Who are these persons, sir? Naturally, search, wherever search has been initiated 132, or books of accounts, or documents, or any assets are requisitioned 132(a), or a survey has been conducted at 133(a), other than 133(2)(a), that is your TDS survey, or any money, bullion, jewelry, valuable article or thing seized or requisition 132 or 132A, etc. Notice has been issued that the books of accounts document seized or requisition under 132 or 132A in case of other person pertains to your 153C erstwhile provision. Now, further, this updated return shall not be furnished wherever, there are 3-4 things here. Proceeding for assessment or reassessment or recomputation or revision is already pending. In that case also, you cannot file an updated return 139(8)A. Plus, if you are coming under these acts of PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, or Black Money Undisclosed Foreign Income Assets, then your Benami Property Transactions Act 88, Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Act 76, etc. Benami Provision Act, my dear friends, was a sleeping beauty for 28 years until this government brought to light. And how beautifully it was planned, I'll tell you. 1st of November 2016, Benami Act came into play. Benami Act was introduced in India by late Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1988, but it wasn't implemented. It did not see the light of the day. For 28 years until 1st November 16, it was a sleeping beauty, not at all implemented. Why? See the ruthlessness, see the planning. 1st of November, 8th of November, and 30th of September, that the ideas got over. Immediately on 1st of November, Benami Act silently came into play. 8th of November, demonetization as was, heralded on the economy. Anyway, so all these persons who are coming under all these acts, also they do not have any benefit of filing this updated return. Now, similarly, wherever information is there under 9090A also, under the relevant assessment period, and which has been communicated to a certain person prior to the date of filing return under 139(8)A also, you cannot file. Wherever prosecution proceedings have been initiated, you cannot file. Now, so basically, what are they telling? 139(8)A, you have to file the return. Your 24 months time is there from the end of relevant assessment year. Declare, your income, pay the tax. And now when you pay the tax, that tax should be paid under 140 capital B. All of you know self-assessed tax under 140A. Now this is for updated return. It is under 140 subsection B. And mind you, you cannot upload the return without paying the tax, else it becomes a defective return under 139 within bracket 9. Now we move on further. Accordingly, there are amendments made in 139(9) and your 234 ABC returns, etc. Now, the point to be noted, my dear friends, is how to calculate the additional tax payable. The law is giving you a time to file an updated return. Time limit is, your 24 months, but there is a, a bar here. What it says, additional tax payable at the time of furnishing the return shall be equal to 25% of aggregate of tax and interest payable. You are paying your normal tax, but because it is an updated return and you are getting additional time, law is telling please pay additional tax. So how much is the additional tax? It is 25% of aggregate of tax and interest payable. What is the time limit? If such return is furnished before the completion of period of 12 months from the end of relevant assessment year. However, if the return is furnished after expiry of 12 months, but before completion of 24 months, outer time limit, my dear friends, is 24 months. So if you were to furnish the return of income after 12 months, but before 24 months from the end of relevant assessment year, the additional tax payable shall be 50% of the aggregate of tax and interest payable. So this is the, entire provision. And that additional income tax will also include surcharge and cess by whatever name called. Now, we move on to the next amendment. Now, this is also a very basic amendment, welcome amendment. Litigation management when in an appeal by an revenue, identical question law is pending before the jurisdictional High Court or Supreme Court. So the law is telling, earlier there was 158 AAA where the the principal commissioner, is of the opinion that identical question of law arising in a assessee's case, is for another assessment also, which is pending in appeal obviously before the Supreme Court against any order of High Court which is in favor of the assessee. Then you would direct the assessing officer to make an application to the tribunal stating that the appeal on question of law may be filed when the decision on the question of law becomes final. So now, what is the amendment made now here? They are telling now when an appeal by revenue is pending on an identical question of law, now new section 158AB is inserted in the act to provide that where the collegium, what is the collegium now? Collegium is, it is defined here. It means 2 or more chief commissioners or principal commissioners or commissioners of income tax. So the collegium now is of the opinion that if you see here 158AB, question of law arising in the case of an assessee for relevant assessment year, same thing, identical with question of law already raised in his case, or in the case of any other assessee for an assessment year which is pending before the jurisdictional high court or Supreme Court, or in a SLP under 136 of the Constitution, then they may decide and intimate the commissioner or principal commissioner not to file any appeal at this stage, because the litigation can be avoided, provided then we adhere to the final decision of the Supreme Court. Now we move further. Now this clarification regarding treatment of cess and surcharge, many of the high courts, they have allowed this cess and surcharge allowable deduction under 37(1) of the Act. Now the law has been made clear. Now the law has been made clear, and we were claiming the deduction based on Bombay High Court in case of Sesa Goa, etc., and also Rajasthan High Court in Chambal Fertilizers and Chemicals Limited. Now what the law is telling, nothing doing, it will not be allowed, and this was not the intention of the law at all, and henceforth the cess will not be allowed. So if you see here, yes, from the above discussion, it may be seen that interpretations of 2 high courts, various ITATs are against the intention of legislature. They are not in line with the judgment of Supreme Court. Hence, in order to make the intention of legislature clear and to make it free from any misinterpretation, it is now proposed to include an explanation retrospectively in the Act itself to clarify, for the purposes of the subclass, term tax includes and shall be deemed to have always included surcharge or cess by whatever name called. Amendment is made retrospectively to make clear the position irrespective of the circular of CBDT. And this is from assessment year 5-6, as our learned speaker Rajesh Mehta also told at the beginning. Now, this is again very important amendment, my dear friends. This is regarding the business reorganization, chapter 15, liability in certain special cases, 170, where we are telling the company has merged or amalgamated, or the assessee is deceased, and you have issued notice in name of an assessee who do not exist. So what the law is telling now? So here what are they telling? It has been noted that in the case of, this is in case of post such reorganization, affairs of the successor entity go through a complete change with effect from date from which reorganization takes place. However, due to the indefinite timeline involved in issuing such orders, there is a gap between effectivity of such order and the date on which such order is issued by competent authority. This will also affect the final accounts of the entities, as they are unable to modify their already filed returns in accordance with the reorganization. Hence, in order to remove this anomaly, it is now proposed to insert a new section 170A to enable for the entities going through such business reorganization for filing of modified returns for the period between date of effectivity of the order and date of issuance of final order of the competent authority. Now, basically, this is amendments related to a successor entity subsequent to business reorganization, basically. And here, if you see here, 170 provides for assessment in cases of succession otherwise than by death. In practice, once an entity, I gave an example at the beginning, 170 provides for assessment in case of succession otherwise than by death. And once an entity starts the process of reorganization by filing an application with the adjudicating authority or any high court, period of time, the time lag involved in coming to the conclusion with respect to such reorganization, it's a long drawn process and it is not time bound. Therefore, the reorganization is from a preceding date. So during the pendency of the court proceedings, the income tax proceedings and assessments are carried on, often completed on the predecessor entities only. So therefore, the courts, have, in plethora of cases have held that proceedings and consequent assessments are illegal, as the predecessor assessee now ceases to exist in the midst of a perfectly legal and valid proceeding. So therefore, this section has come. View to clarify such proceedings under the Act are valid. Proceedings of the Act have to be continued in respect of predecessor only, and such proceedings once completed cannot become illegal as a result of subsequent order of any court. Fair enough. Now, for that issue of the notice of demand is under 156A. There is observed is no procedure or mechanism provided in Act to reduce such demands from the outstanding demand register. Next. Now this Rajesh Mehta has already covered your disallowance under 14A in absence of any exempt income. So now they have made a retrospective amendment. Now what are they telling? If you see here the board circular and also on the memorandum, they have given an example. If during the previous year assessee incurs an expense of 1 lakh to a non-exempt income of 1.5 lakh and also incurs an expense of 20,000 to an exempt income which may or may not have accrued received during the year. By holding that the provisions of 14A do not apply in this year as exempt income was not accrued received during the year, it amounts to holding that 20,000 would be allowed as deduction against non-exempt income of 1.5 lakh, even though this expense was not incurred wholly and exclusively for the purpose of earning non-exempt income. Such an interpretation will defeat the legislative intent of both 14A as well as 37. So now they are telling in order to make the intention of legislature clear and to make it free from misinterpretation, we are now inserting an explanation to 14A to clarify that notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in this act, provision of the section shall apply whether you have exempt income, whether you don't have exempt income. Deemed to have always applied in a case where exempt income has not accrued or arisen or has not been received relevant to the assessment year and the expenditure has been incurred during said previous year in relation to such exempt income. Now, again they are telling one more amendment, non-obstant clause, no deduction shall be allowed in relation to exempt income, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in this act. Now, clarification on allowability of expenditure under section 37. So, you know, all of you, this 37 is for allowability of, you know, non-personal expenditure or other than those under 30 to 36 and only revenue expenditure other than capital expenditure which are laid out and expended wholly and exclusively for the purpose of business or profession. And also the explanation will debars, it says any expenditure incurred by an assessee for any offense or prohibited by law shall not be deemed to have been incurred for the purpose of business or profession and no deduction or allowance will be allowed for such expenses. But this memorandum is giving the explanation telling that certain taxpayers are claiming deductions on expenditure incurred in offering certain benefits or perquisite to a person which are not intended to be allowed under this section, like meeting is expenditure related to travel, hospitality, conference, etc. In these cases, acceptance of such benefit or perquisite by such person is in violation of law or rule or regulation or guidelines governing the conduct of such person. This basically, you know, based on the Indian Medical Council. So Indian Medical Council, what happens by the regulations on 10/12/9 as well as board circular dated 5/2012 dated 1st August 2012 noted that the Indian Medical Council imposes a prohibition on medical practitioner and their professional association from taking any gift, travel facility, hospitality, cash, any monetary grant from pharmaceutical and allied health sector industries. Accordingly, CBDT clarified that the claim of any expense shall be inadmissible. But this disallowance was direct to be made in the hand of such pharmaceutical or allied health sector industries or other assessees who provided these benefits. Now, so these circular were challenged before the courts, etc. And then what is this judgment made now? We'll not go through all the judgments. And now coming to the amendment. Yes, sir. In order to make the intention now, again they are telling I want to make the intention of legislation clear. In one stroke of amendments, several laws have bitten the dust now. All Supreme Court judgments, High Court judgments, tribunal judgments have all been, you know, consigned to the flames. In order to make intention of the legislature clear, to make it free from misinterpretation, now I am inserting one more explanation to 37(1), telling what? Stating that expression expenditure incurred by an assessee for any purpose which is an offense or which is prohibited by law under Section 1 shall include and always be deemed to have included the expenditure incurred by an assessee for any purpose which is offense under prohibited by any law for timing in India. Now this is the thing. to provide any benefit or perquisite in whatever form to a person, whether or not carrying on a business or exercising profession, and acceptance of such benefit or perquisite by such person is in violation of any law. So it is in violation of Indian Medical Association or profession, etc., or regulation or guidelines as the case may be, for the time being in force governing the conduct of such person, or to compound an offence under any law for the time being in force in India or outside of India. Next. Now 43B. Now, there is an explanation, next amendments regard to 43B. There are in explanation 3C, 3CA, 3D, which provides that a deduction of any sum being interest payable on loan or borrowing from specified financial institution, NBFC, etc., under clause D, DA, E shall be allowed if the interest has been actually paid, or any interest referred to in clauses has been converted into loan or borrowing or advance shall not be deemed to have been actually paid. Now, so what was happening? What is the loophole, and what is it the loophole being plugged now? Our certain taxpayers are claiming deduction in 43B on account of conversion of interest payable on an existing loan into debenture on the ground that such conversion is a constructive discharge of interest liability and therefore amounted to actual payment, which has been upheld by several courts. Now they're telling not possible. Merely you can't tell that, just because an existing loan I am converting to a debenture, and the courts have held that such conversion is a constructive discharge of interest liability and therefore amounted to actual payment. So this mischief is now curbed. Now the section is clear cut. What the section is telling now, they are now proposing to amend explanation 3C, 3CA, 3D to provide that conversion of interest payable under clause D, clause DA, clause E of 43B into debenture or any other instrument by which liability to pay is deferred to a future date. Please mark the word shall also not be deemed to have been actually paid. Now it is crystal clear. Not deemed to have been actually paid. Now we move further. Yes, sir. This 115 BAB, they have for this manufacturing or extension of last date, one more year has been extended. What was from March 23, now extended to March 24, 115 BAB, which provides an option for concessional rate of taxation at 15% for new domestic manufacturing companies, provided they do not avail any specified incentives or deductions, etc., and they fulfill all other conditions. So that any new domestic manufacturing company registered and set up on or between 1/10/19 till 31st March 23. So that is now extended to one more year, that is 24. Now, similarly, sir, for extension of date of incorporation for eligible startup for exemption, 80 IAC, it provides deduction of amount equal to 100% of profits and gains derived from eligible business by an eligible startup for 3 consecutive years out of 10 years, beginning from the year of incorporation. What are the conditions? Subject to the condition total turnover does not exceed 100 crores. And it is in, it has a certificate in respect of that eligible business, which is issued by Interministerial Board of Certification and incorporated on or after 1st April 16, but before 1st April 22. So that 1st April 22 has now been extended by 1 year. This is all because of your, the COVID, etc. Because of the COVID pandemic, delays in setting up of such units, and therefore to factor in such delays and promote such eligible startups, it is now proposed to amend the provisions of 80 IAC to extend the period of incorporation of eligible startup to March 23. This is a more welcome amendment, rationalization of provisions of Act to promote growth of cooperative society. So all of 115 JC, AMT, which in case of cooperative societies, the rate is 18.5%. Whereas, by the Taxation Laws Amendment Act 19, MAT rate for companies were reduced to 15%. Now they want to provide parity, level playing field for cooperative society as well as company. And now they are telling even the AMT rate in case of cooperative society, they are now liable to pay income tax at 15%. Next. Now tax incentives to IFSC, for example, GIFT City in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, etc. So a lot of benefits were given to IFSC in order to make it a global hub for financial service sector. Some more benefits are given. Some more, they are giving some more benefits. Some more benefits are extended. Now, we move further. This is a welcome amendment now. So, this NPS, central government employees as well as state government employees. So what was allowed, sir? Employers' contribution to NPS was, allowed as a deduction in computation of total income if it does not exceed 14% of his salary, where such contribution was made by central government. And limit was 10% of salary, where contribution is made by any other employer. So now this, what has happened now? They have made equal level playing field even for the other employees, other than your central government employees. For them also, the limit of deduction under 80 CCD is extended, is increased from the existing 10% to 14% in respect of contribution made by even state government employees to its employee. Now, this is also a very welcome amendment. Condition of releasing of annuity to a disabled person. Now, 80DD is there. It is being provided for a deduction to individual or HUF, resident in India, for incurring expenditure for medical treatment in case of a dependent who is a disabled person, being a person with disability, or amount is paid to LIC or any other insurer in respect of scheme for maintenance of disabled dependent. Now, subsection 2 of that section will provide that the deduction shall be allowed when only if the payment of annuity or lump sum amount is made to the benefit of the dependent in the event of death of the individual or member of HUF in whose name subscription was made. And subsection 3 provided that if the dependent with disability predeceases, in subsection 2 is telling, the annuity or lump sum payment made to the benefit of dependent in the event of death of the individual. Subsection 3 is telling, suppose the dependent himself predeceases the individual or the member of HUF, amount deposited in such scheme shall be deemed to be the income of such assessee, and it will be charged to tax as the income of that assessee in the previous year. Now, what has happened now is a writ petition was filed, and Justice A.K. Sikri observed that there could be harsh cases where handicapped dependents may need payment of gratuity or lump sum basis even during their lifetime of the parents or guardians. Therefore, it was observed that the center may take into consideration all the benefits, including those where a disabled dependent might need payment on annuity or lump sum basis even during the lifetime. But now they are telling, I'll allow the deduction during the lifetime also upon attaining the age of 60 years or more of the individual or member of HUF in whose name subscription to the scheme has been made and where payment or deposit has been discontinued. Further, they are telling provisions of subsection 3 shall not apply to the amount received by the dependent before his death by way of annuity or lump sum application referred to in the proposed amendment. Now, the next amendment is 56-10, exemption of amount received for medical treatment and on account of death of due to COVID-19. So 56-10, any person receives in any previous year from any person or persons without consideration aggregate value of which exceeds 50,000, whole of aggregate of such sum to be the income of the person receiving such sum and subject to certain exceptions. Now 17.2 gives the definition of perquisite. Now certain exceptions also have been made, as perquisite. Now the finance minister had released a press statement dated 25th of June 21, wherein it was announced that the income tax shall not be charged on the amount received by a taxpayer for medical treatment. From whom? From the employer or any person for treatment of COVID-19 during financial 19-20 and in the subsequent years. It was further announced that in order to provide relief to the family members of taxpayer, not only the taxpayer, family members of the taxpayer, exemption shall be provided to the ex gratia payment received by family members of the taxpayer from the employer of such person on death of the person on account of COVID-19 during financial 19-20 subsequent years. And also the exemption shall be allowed without any limit for amount received from employer, and other than employer it is limited to 10 lakh rupees. Now, so whatever was given in the press statement has now become a law. That's all. Whatever was given in the press statement now is now inserted by way of a law, and therefore they have amended 17.2 and they have inserted a new subclause and in that proviso which states that any sum paid by an employer in respect of any expenditure actually incurred by the employee on his medical treatment or the treatment of any member of his family in respect of any illness relating to COVID-19 shall not be forming part of perquisite. And further, they have amended that proviso to clause 10 of subsection 2 of 56, inserted two new clauses, where they say that any sum of money received by an individual from any person in respect of any expenditure actually incurred by him on his medical treatment or treatment of any member of family, in respect of any illness related to COVID-19. It may be mucormycosis, etc. It may be Delta variant. It may be your, this Omicron, etc. Subject to such condition as may be notified by central government shall not be the income of such person. Now, meaning of family is the same as given in 10.5, your leave travel allowance. Now, this is your strategic disinvestment of public sector companies for your Air India, and this is a wonderful amendment made for your Indian Airlines, etc. They have gone back. The Maharaja has gone back to his original father who gave birth to him. 14 years, my dear friends, last 14 years since 2007, government of India was feeding 7,500 crore per annum, and round about 84,000 crores has been given to Air India, and 20 crores per day. It's 20 crores per day, around about 7,000 to 7,500 per annum. Last 14 years, the government has spent 84,000 crore on Indian Airlines, and now rightfully they have gone for disinvestment. It's not the government's job. The government job is to provide good roads, water, electricity, infrastructure, employment, etc. You can't tell them to do business. This is not the business. This business has to be done by the businessman, and rightfully it has gone to them now. Anyhow, so this amendment is made only for that, brought forward losses, set off of losses, etc. Disinvestment because of the private company and the subsidiary and the holding company, basically. Next, we move on further, sir. Widening and deepening of tax base, 206 AP and 206 CCA. So last year, if you have not filed the return of income for 2 years, 2 consecutive years, who is a specified person? Who has not filed the return of income for 2 assessment years, and his aggregate of TDS, what is reflecting in 26 years or TCS in any of the years, aggregate of tax deducted or collected at source, in his case rupees 50,000 more in each of the 2 previous years, and government has provided online utility to taxpayers to check that. So now what they have done, they have reduced that 2 years to 1 year. So they are telling in whose case significant amount of tax has been deducted to furnish their return, it is proposed to reduce 2 years requirement to 1 year by amending section 206 AB and CCA to provide that specified person to mean a person who has not filed its return of income for assessment year relevant to previous year immediately preceding the financial year in which tax is to be deducted or collected, as the case may be, an amount of tax collected and deducted at source 50,000 more in the said previous year. Now, move further. Again, this is also a very, welcome amendment. This 194 IA. So all of TDS on sale of immobile property more than 50 lakhs. Any sale of agricultural land, immobile property other than agricultural land, the transfer of immobile property. So government was selling 1% TDS. The goal of the government was not to collect 1% TDS. They always wanted to know whether these guys have paid the tax. The persons who have transferred the property indirectly come under the tax net by way of this TDS. 1% what collection will it give? This will not give any much collection to the government of India. Indirectly, what will happen? Their name would appear in 26 years, etc. And etc. And they'll come to know whether these fellows have paid tax, long-term capital gain, whether provisions of 50C are applicable, whether 43C is applicable, etc. etc. Now the government is telling, I will not only compare the consideration, sale consideration, I will also compare the stamp duty value. Whichever is more, I will tell the please deduct 1%. Matters. So the government is telling now, even your 50C, 43C, etc. I am going to catch you now. I will easily know because 1% you are deducting on the consideration. Now they are telling compare sale consideration, compare your guidance value as on the date of your sale deed, etc. And whichever is higher, please deduct 1%. So the consideration of the immobile property is more than 50 lakhs. Now, yes. So TDS is to be deducted on the amount of consideration paid by transferring to the transferor. So what was the loophole which is plugged now? Section does not take into account the stamp duty value of immobile property. Whereas as per provisions of 43CA, that is business, 50C is for capital asset, capital gains, for computation of income under PGBP or capital gains respectively, stamp duty value is to be considered. Thus, there is inconsistency in the provisions of 194 IA and 43 CA and 50 C of the Act. In order to remove this inconsistency, it is now proposed to amend section 194 IA of the Act to provide that in case of transfer of an immobile property, other than agricultural land, TDS is to be deducted rate of 1% of such sum paid or credited to the resident or the stamp duty value of such property, whichever is higher. In case the consideration paid for the transfer of immovable property and stamp duty value are both less than 50 lakhs, please, then no tax is deducted under 194 IA. Please understand now, my dear friends, humble request is don't file the return without going through your 26 years, without going to your, AIS, those summary are there. There are so many things appearing there, etc. Now, how many things are appearing on the portal? If you go to the registered account, who knew, my dear friends, that registered account of the SSC on the portal today, you see, nobody, no country in the world has done that. There is faceless assessment, faceless appeal, faceless penalty. People are still thinking India is the only country in the world to have implemented faceless assessment, faceless appeal, faceless penalty, faceless tribunal. Now, even faceless ITAT, unless we ask for a personal hearing. So, how fast the government has and how it has benefited. Now, in times of COVID, these sections were implemented, even before the COVID, they had tried to implement these sections. So exactly, this has benefited a lot of people now because of COVID and because of lockdown. You could all, the orders were passed online, offline, etc. So what has happened is now, unless you please check the detailed registered portal of the SSA, kindly do not file the return. Lot of information is available. Today, information, you have salary, you have interest, you have ESP interest, you have long-term capital gains on sale of shares, you have got, mutual funds shares, you have got dividend, you have got bank interest, etc., etc. All the details are available. So please consider all that and then only file the return. Yeah. Now we move on further. Now TDS on benefit or perquisite of a business or profession. So 28(4) of the Act, any benefit or perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, arising from the business or exercise of profession, is to be charged as business income in the hands of recipient of such benefit or perquisite. However, in many cases, such recipient does not report the receipt of benefits in their return, leading to furnishing of incorrect particulars of income. So now they are telling, I am going to insert 194R to provide that the person responsible for providing to a resident any benefit or perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, understand, whether convertible into money or not, arising from carrying out of business or exercise of a profession, shall, before providing such benefit or perquisite, ensure the tax has been deducted in respect of such benefit or perquisite the rate of 10%. Now, suppose you are telling the benefit is in partly in kind or wholly in kind or partly in kind or partly in cash. They are telling, I don't know. I am putting the onus on the person. Such person, what is telling, the person responsible for providing such benefit shall, before releasing the benefit or perquisite, ensure the tax has been paid in respect of benefit or perquisite. However, no tax is required to be deducted if the value of the benefit or perquisite paid or likely to be paid to a resident does not exceed 20,000 rupees during the financial year. And also, these provisions will not apply in case of an individual HUF. You know that whose total sales, gross receipt turnover does not exceed 1 crore rupees or 50 lakhs rupees in case of a profession during the financial year, immediately preceding the financial year, in which such benefit or perquisite, as the case may be, is provided. Yes, sir. This is okay. So now this bonus stripping and dividend stripping to be made applicable to securities and units. Earlier, this was applicable only to your mutual funds and shares, etc. Now it's applicable even to your, securities and units. What units? Units of REITs and InvITs, Infrastructure Investment Fund, Real Estate Investment Fund, Alternative Investment Fund, AIF, etc. So all this also will come into the definition now under 94(8) of, this bonus stripping and dividend stripping. Now proposed to amend subsection 8 of 94 pertaining to prevention of tax evasion through bonus stripping so as to make the said provision applicable to securities as well. And also proposed to amend the explanation to the said section to modify definition of unit so as to include units of business trust such as I told you, InvIT, REIT, AIF, etc. within the definition of units. Now, very, very important amendment, my dear friends. And also, as expected, although the RBI was against, the finance minister, brought about this amendment, and she was, in favor of this amendment about this virtual digital assets. Now, for your information, India has the largest owners of cryptocurrencies in the world. Largest crypto owners are there in India, and I appreciate the finance minister. I appreciate the government of India for having taken this step and making this legally now. What are they telling? All digital assets, all your virtual digital assets. Around 20 crore. There are 20 million people today, in India who are holding these digital assets. Like your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Solana, your Polygon, etc. There are so many, types there. So what are they telling now? They are telling, don't worry, I am introducing a new section 115 BBH. You transfer any virtual digital asset, so the tax payable would be 30%. 115 BBH will be introduced. Any income from transfer of any virtual digital asset, happily, you are sitting in the home, you are sitting in your bathroom, you are sitting in the phone, and you are just selling and buying bitcoins. So this is the step taken by the government of India now. You sell that virtual digital asset, it will be taxed at a flat rate of 30%. And I am not going to allow you any deduction in respect of any expenditure other than cost of acquisition. I am not going to allow any expenditure. I am not going to allow any allowance. I am not going to allow any set off of any loss. Don't tell me brought forward loss. Don't tell me carried forward loss. You have to ignore. Section is crystal clear. It says no expenditure, no allowance, no set off of any loss shall be allowed under section as a say under any provision of this act while computing income from transfer of such asset. Further, no set off of any loss arising from transfer of virtual digital asset also. There is virtual digital asset. You sell during the year and you incur loss. That loss also shall not be allowed against any income computed under either provision of the act, and such loss shall not be allowed to be carried forward to subsequent assessment years. Now, again they are telling I am going to incur as usual TDS provisions. I am going to now introduce 194S. There 194S is for what? For deduction of tax on payment for transfer of virtual digital asset to a resident at the rate of 1% of such sum. However, in the case that payment for such transfer is wholly in kind, or in exchange of another virtual digital asset, or where there is no part in cash, or partly in cash, partly in kind, etc., but part in cash is not sufficient to meet liability of deduction of tax in respect of such transfer. Again, the owner shift only the person who is making the payment. That fellow shall ensure that the tax has been paid in respect of such consideration. What about 203A, 206A, sir? That will not be applicable. Further, no tax is to be deducted in case the payer is the specified person and the value of the aggregate of such value of consideration to a resident is less than 50,000 during the financial year. Payer is specified person. Who is specified person? Yes, sir. Turnover less than 1 crore, etc. And you are in profession. It is less than 50 lakhs, etc. In any case, 194. Yes. What is the limit, sir? It is 10,000 rupees. In any other case, the said limit is proposed to be 10,000 during the financial year. Then also one more amendment will be proposed. Tax has been deducted under 194. Yes, no tax is to be collected or deducted in respect of the said transaction and any other provisions of Chapter 17 of the Act. Now, what about 194O, your e-commerce transaction, etc.? They are telling 194O and 194S. Then tax shall be deducted under 194S and not 194O. Now, a specified person, meaning they are giving, we saw that. Individual HUF, etc., your total sales, receipts, profession, etc., does not exceed 1 crore or 50 lakh of rupees, and being an individual or HUF, having income under any head other than the head PGBP. Now, this amendment will take effect from 1st of July 2022. Although, I agree with the our FM, still, I could, and this definition is also included, my dear friends, in 56.210, that expression property shall now include, that definition also amendment, shall now include virtual digital asset with effect from 1st of April 2023. Now we move further. Even gifting of virtual digital assets, even that is also brought under the tax net. So explanation to clause 10, what we were discussing of subsection 2 of 56, inter alia, provide that expression property shall have the meaning assigned to it in explanation to clause 7 and shall include virtual digital asset. So everywhere, she has tried to plug the loophole. Now, what is virtual digital asset? We are going on telling VDA, transfer of VDA, etc. will attract tax at 30%, etc. And the payer of VDA, etc. 194. Yes, it is 10%, etc. So what is VDA? 2 within bracket 47A defines virtual digital asset. It means virtual digital asset proposed to mean any information or code or number or token, not being Indian currency or any foreign currency, generated to cryptographic means or otherwise by whatever name called, providing a digital representation of value which is exchanged with or without consideration, with the promise or representation of having inherent value, or functions as a store of value or a unit of account, and it includes its use in any financial transaction or investment, but not limited to investment schemes, and can be transferred, stored, or traded electronically. Please see the definition. Now, central government may notify any other virtual VDA as virtual digital asset by way of notification official gazette. Non-fungible tokens mean such digital assets as notified by central government. Now, 115 BBD. Withdrawal of concessional rate of taxation on dividend income, 115 BBD. That 115 BBD, it provided concessional rate of 15% on the dividend income received by an Indian company from a foreign company in which the Indian company holds 26% or more of the nominal value of equity shares. So this rate was aligned to rate of tax for 115O. But our Finance Act 2020 abolished DDT provided in 115O, and now dividend is taxed in the hands of shareholder at applicable rates. So now, in order to provide parity in the tax treatment in the case of the dividend received by Indian companies from specified companies vis-a-vis dividend received from domestic companies, it is now proposed to amend 115 BBDD to provide that the provisions will not apply from assessment year beginning on or after 1st day of April 2023. Now, as as the want of this government, they are slowly phasing out all the exemptions. So accordingly, 10.8, 10.8A, 10.8B, 10.9, etc. It's all now going to be phased out. It is all in the foreign citizen, who is assigned duties in India in connection with any cooperative technical assistance programs and projects, etc. So all these are being now phased out and removed. Now, the amendment in provisions of 248 of Income Tax Act, insertion of new section 239A. Now 248, what was 248? Under an agreement or arrangement, a person who has deducted tax on any income paid to a non-resident other than interest under 195, he may appeal to Commissioner Appeals for a declaration that no tax was deductible on such income. If he claims that such tax is to be borne by him, since no tax was required to be deducted on such income. But what was the law? Tax had to be deducted, remitted. Then you can file an appeal to CIT Appeals. Fine. So what was they telling? Appeal could be filed only after making payment of tax. And 249 of the Act lays down that appeal under 248 can be filed within 30 days, etc. So now, how to reclaim the refund? You are not telling me to go to assessing officer. Directly you are telling me, you please deduct tax, remit tax, even though you are not required to remit, or even though you are not required to deduct the tax, but you have to remit, deduct, etc., deduct and remit, and file an appeal with the Commissioner Appeals. You allow me to go to assessing officer, but that was not there in the Act at all. So now they are telling, please, to obtain a refund of tax deducted and paid by a person on which it was not deductible as per provisions of 248, taxpayer has no recourse to approach the AO with such request. He had to necessarily enter the appellate process by filing an appeal before the CIT Appeals. At the same time, agreement or arrangement under which tax has been deducted and paid is not brought on record of AO also or examined by him. So now they are telling, I am introducing new section 239A. Inserted to provide such person who has made the deduction of tax under such an agreement or arrangement and has borne the tax liability when actually no tax deduction was required, he will now be eligible, applicable, and he may file an application for refund of such tax deducted before the assessing officer. He need not go to CIT Appeals. Such a person can, if he is not satisfied with the order of assessing officer, then he is telling you, please go into appeal against the order before the CIT Appeals under 246A of the Act. Accordingly, the provisions of 248 of the Act will not apply in cases where the date of tax payment to the credit of central government is on or after 1/4/2022, and now they have to deduct or remit under 239A after 1st April 2022. Now this cash credits on 68, what are they telling? The government has become, by the day, they are introducing a lot of, anti-abuse provisions. They are, making amendments. So 68, simple, what they are telling now, you please explain the source to me. Earlier it was only for companies, sir. Earlier only for company shareholders, etc. Now they are telling other than company also, you have to explain the source. That is all. This is the sum and substance of this provision. You have a lot of case laws. So what is happening now? You take all loans now. What are they telling? Pernicious practice of conversion of unaccounted money by crediting to the books of assessee through a masquerade of loan or borrowing. The law is telling, the memorandum is telling, we have done enough research and all these loans, whatever you have brought in the books as unsecured loans, loan creditors, etc. These are all your conversion of unaccounted money in the form of loans and borrowings. So now they are telling, give me the source. Give me the source in the hands of your loan creditor. I'm going to examine that. Unlike your, earlier, what was it? That source of some in nature of share application money, share capital, share premium, or any such amount wherever credited in the books of your closely held company in which public is not substantially interested, shall be treated as explained only if the source of funds is also explained in the hands of the shareholder. So, however, in the case of loan or borrowing, judicial decisions are held that only identity and creditworthiness of creditor and genuineness of transactions for explaining the credit in the books of accounts is sufficient, and onus does not extend to explaining the source of funds in the hands of creditor. Unfortunate, my dear friends, all your loan creditors, other than even company, I'm telling you, normal businessman, you are having loan of 100 crores. They are going to ask you confirmation letter. You are giving confirmation letter. You are telling it is through banking channel. You are giving the name. You are giving the PAN. You are giving the address. We have received notices now under faceless scheme where they tell you have submitted confirmation letters. How do you prove? Please prove that signature is of that creditor only. Oh, you have given me beautiful documentation. You have given me the bank statement. You have given me the ITRV also. You have given me confirmation letters also. Prove that the signature is of that creditor only. And now here comes this source of source they are telling. Please give me source of source. Else, anyhow. So that 68 is anyway there, they are going to make an addition. They are going to, if anyway 68 is invoked, 68, 69, 69A, 69B, 69C, 69D, read with 105 BBE. If it is invoked, 60% is the rate of tax. And then there is surcharge, education cess, etc. So now propose to amend the provisions of 68 so as to provide that the nature and source of any sum, whether in the form of loan or borrowing, see the words used. They are telling whether in the form of loan or borrowing or any other liability credited in the books of an assessee. Please understand. What do you mean loan, borrowing, any other liability credited in the books of an assessee shall be treated as explained only if the source of funds is also explained in the hands of the creditor or entry provider. They are using the word entry provider. However, this additional onus of proof of satisfactorily explaining the source in the hands of creditor would not apply. Still, there is a exemption if the creditor is a well-regulated entity, that is your venture capital fund, venture capital company registered with SEBI. So this will take effect from 1st of April 2023 and will accordingly apply in relation to assessment year 23-24 and subsequent assessment years. Yes. Next. Well, these are some, amendments, this 278A, 278A, which are related to prosecution for failure to pay tax to the credit of central government under Chapter 17B for tax directed at source. So 278A, what was, sir? It was for TDS. So what about for TCS? There were no such provisions. So now they're telling, don't worry, provisions for offense with respect to TCS also, 17BB, providing for punishment with prosecution against persons failing to pay tax collected at source, which was not there under A and AA, 278A and AA. It is now proposed to include 276BB under section 278A, 278AA, owing to similar nature of offences that are punishable under section 276B and 276BB. Now, your faceless scheme under the Act, they have, made some tinkering here. There are 26 subsections, sir. In this section, there are 26, subsection, if you start here 144B, subsection 2, 3, etc. In this 3, there are A to Z. They have substituted that old 144B now to provide that they have this faceless assessment. More or less it is the same here and there, they have tinkered that. So all the alphabets are there up to Z. So therefore there are 26. Yes. Where is that? Yeah, Z. Yes, sir. Now, one more very important thing, what you are doing, you are all going to writ petitions, you are filing all writ petition in High Courts 144B9. Telling that, the assessment proceeding shall be void if the procedure mentioned in that section was not followed. So what has the law has done? They have deleted, removed, deleted the section itself. So they don't want unnecessary litigation. You all went to High Courts. You all filed writ petitions. Now they are telling 144B9. What was it? Shall be void if the procedure mentioned in section was not followed. What is the subsection referred to? It said that the violation of procedure laid down by the law, whereas a large number of disputes have been raised under this subsection involving technical issues arising due to use of information technology leading to unnecessary litigation. Therefore, propose to omit this subsection itself from the date of inception and retrospective from 1st of April 2021. Now, there's one more amendment, in provisions of 79A. What is 79A? My dear friend, you are declaring income in the course of search or survey. You are having undisclosed income. You are declaring undisclosed income in the course of search and survey. So there may be some losses there, brought forward losses, etc., current year loss, etc. You are adjusting that and then offering to tax. So what the government has done, their research and the memorandum says, in some cases, assessees claim set-off of losses or unabsorbed depreciation against undisclosed income, corresponding to difference in stock, undervaluation of stock, unaccounted cash payment, etc., which are detected during the course of survey or search. And currently there is no provision in the Act to disallow such set-off, and no distinction is made between undisclosed income detected because of search, detected because of survey, detected because of requisition proceedings, and the income assessed in scrutiny assessment in the regular course of assessment. Though for income falling in 68, 69, 69B, such restriction already there. I told you 68, 69, 69B, whatever income declared, no question of allowing any allowance, any deduction, any set-off of losses. So now, allowing the adjustment of undisclosed income detected as a result of search or requisition or survey against the loss or unabsorbed depreciation is resulting in short levy of tax. The provision of non-adjustment of loss or unabsorbed depreciation against undisclosed income detected as a result of search or requisition survey would help in ensuring that proper tax is paid on income detected due to a search or survey, and also result in increased deterrence against tax evasion. They are telling you about undisclosed income because of search or survey. There is a loss. They are telling, don't worry, you carry forward the loss. I say, I am not bothered. In the year of search or in that 6 years or 3 years or 10 years or whatever, I will not allow you any set forward that loss to set off against regular income. Don't set off that loss against that undisclosed income arising as a result or a consequence of search or seizure or survey. So I am not going to allow you henceforth. Provisions are clear now. They are inserted. That is why this new section is inserted under 79 capital A. They are telling, notwithstanding anything contained in the Act, consequent to search initiated in 132, requisition on 132A, survey conducted on 133A, other than subsection 2A of 133A, that is your TDS survey, or your, the total income of any previous year of an assessee includes any undisclosed income, no set off against such undisclosed income. Mark the words, no set off against such undisclosed income of any loss, whether brought forward or otherwise, or unabsorbed depreciation under subsection 2 of 32 shall be allowed to the assessee under any provision of this Act in computing its total income for the previous year. Then they are giving that meaning of undisclosed income, etc. Now, so undisclosed income is where all that any money, any income represented either wholly or partly by any money, bullion, jewelry, etc., valuable article or thing or any entry, etc., etc., not being recorded on or before date of search not been disclosed to the principal, chief commissioner, etc. before date of search or survey. Any entry, income of previous year represented by any entry in respect of an expense recorded in the books of accounts or other documents maintained in normal course relating to previous year, which is found to be false and would not have been found so had the search not been initiated or the survey not been conducted, etc. So this is the meaning of undisclosed income. Sum and substance, no question of set off of losses against the undisclosed income discovered in the course of search or survey. Anyhow. Now again, this relating to assessment, reassessment, etc. From last year, the entire concept of reassessment 148, 147, 149, 151, etc. were substituted, altered, amended, and new section 148 was introduced, 148A. So very simple. What was the law? They told that no, sir, unless and until an order is passed under 148A clause D, 148A clause D order should be passed, and thereafter 148 should be issued. What a wonderful provision, sir. Beautiful provision. They are saying I am not going to reopen your cases. First, I'll give you an opportunity of being heard. I will, issue before, even for issuing a notice on 148, I'm going to give you an opportunity of being heard. You please prove that there is no income which has escaped assessment. If you prove, then I will not reopen. I will not reopen the case. I will not issue notice under 148A at all. So they are telling. We all went to writ petitions. Why? Because, for example, 13, 14, and 14, 15. What was the due date, sir? 31st of March 20. 6 years from the end of relevant assessment year. So COVID is for you, COVID is for me, COVID is for the third person also, assessee. So they extended the due date. So 13, 14 due date was extended. 6 years from the end of assessment year. So they extended up to 31st of March 21. Again, they extended up to 30th of June 21. So when did it come, sir? That because of the TOLA, Taxation Amendment Act, in 20th of March 20. For 10 days delay, department has got 1.5 years extension of time. So courts have come down heavily. For 10 days delay, you want 1.5 years extension of time? And in March 21, amendment is made by the Honorable Finance Minister of India when she has brought in a new section of 148 capital A. You are bound to issue, give an opportunity to the associate, call for an explanation, pass an order 148A clause D, then issue notice on 148. Amendments happened in March, but on 1st April, you issue notice under 148 under the old regime, merely based on that notification because that was extended. Can delegated legislation override the law itself? Anyway, so petitions struck down by Delhi High Court in favor of the assessees, etc. So moving forward here, what have they made amendment now? Now they are telling, I will insert a new proviso to the effect that requirement for approval to issue notice on 148 shall not be required to be taken by AO if he has passed an order 148 AD. As I told you, 148 AD, he has passed an order. It's a fit case for reopening. He took all the necessary approvals of all his higher authorities. In that case, stating that the income is escaping assessment, you pass that order. Give that order to the associate. Along with that, you issue notice on 148. What stops you? In all these cases, he has just forgotten 148 AD. He has issued a notice on 148. All of you have filed writ petitions in High Court. Anyway, so now they are telling, this simple amendment is telling, now there is no need for taking any approval. When, if you have passed an order 148 AD with prior approval, in that case, stating that income is escaping assessment. So there is no requirement for approval. For what? To issue notice under 148. Again, to omit the requirement of approval of specified authority in clause B of 148A. Then what is information, etc. They use the word flag. So information flag. If you see that section 148, so they remove the word flag now. They are only telling information, only information now, not information flag, etc. And also they removed that word 133A5 now. What is 133A5? Your ceremony, event, marriage, etc. survey. So that is also removed, etc. So like these small amendments here and there, they have been tinkered. And due to want of time, I think it's already 7:50. We have got 10 more minutes, I think. So there is this 271AAB, 271AAC, 271AAD, etc., etc. What are they done here? What are they telling is here? This powers to the assessing officer, levy penalty. All this 271AAB, AAC, AAD are all penalty in cases of involving undisclosed income where search has been initiated 132 or otherwise, or for your false entry in books of accounts, your 271 AADs for your GST frauds, etc. So what are they telling now? Deals with penalties. Chapter 21, which deals with penalties, has concomitant powers with AO to levy penalty in eligible cases. CIT appeals has got concomitant powers with AO to levy penalty in eligible cases under all these sections, which deal with deliberate concealment, non-disclosure, omission by necessity to evade tax. Now they are telling, even similarly, 271 AAB, AAC, AAD penalize actions pertaining to undisclosed income, undisclosed credits, unexplained credits, or expenditure, or deliberate falsification or omission in books. Therefore, in order to improve deterrence against non-compliance, it is now proposed to amend AAB, AAC, AAD by enabling the Commissioner appeals also to levy penalty under these sections along with the assessing officer. These three sections. Now, your 272A. Sir, this 272A, what is it? Penalty for failure to answer questions, sign statements, furnish information, return statements, allow inspections, etc. So what happens if there is a violation of 272A? How much is penalty, sir? 100 rupees per day of default. That 100 rupees per day of default has now been increased to 500 rupees per day of default. Yes. So, in the report told on the entertainment sector, it being very low. So penalty has not been increased since the section was introduced in 1999, 272A. And it does not have adequate deterrence value, 100 rupees per day. Now it has become 500 rupees per day of default. For example, 133.6 is issued. You don't answer. You don't bother to answer 133.6. Why I should answer anywhere? So every day of delay, till such time the delay continues, 500 rupees per day, my dear friends. Anyhow, we move further. Now this amendment in provisions of 179. See how minutely they have gone through the act this time. What is the amendment made in this section? Section 179. Please open the act and see the heading. The heading, what was the title of the section? The title of the section was, now what are they telling? Section, however, the title of the section inadvertently refers to liability of directors of private company in liquidation. The title of the section heading now in the act, liability of the directors of private company in liquidation. That is not what this section intends when you read the section. So 179 of the act, what is it? It enables the authorities to recover tax due from a private company from its directors under circumstances where tax cannot be recovered from the company itself. So this section is making every director of the private company jointly liable, severally liable for payment of such tax with certain conditions. But unfortunately, inadvertently, due to oversight, heading of the sections reads as liability of directors of private company in liquidation. So actually the liability of directors of private company under this section is not conditional upon the company being in liquidation, and the section, as I told, when you go through, does not make any reference to liquidation. Therefore, now to make the title of the section uniform with its provision, in sync with the provision, the title is in sync with the provision, that it is now amended. What is amended? Only title of the section as what? Liability of directors of private company, full stop. In liquidation, the words are removed. Now the charitable trust and institution, quickly we will take this and finish it off, sir. It's 7:55. Now, since the day of this government has come to power, my dear friends, in 2014 onwards, every year there is amendment in charity. Every year. And I pointed out to make 2 more hours. You can just make amendments made by the government charitable trust. Cover all the amendment 2014 till 2022. You try to cover all the amendments made. So in this one, they have done very beautifully. Your fund, institution, trust or university, hospital, etc. 23C4, 23C5, 6, 23C6. Okay, or 12A, 12AB. Now they are telling exemption are available in 2 regime. Regime 1. Regime 1 is what? Your 1023C. Regime 2 is what? 12A, 12A. Now, so first regime, second. First regime is what? Exemption under 1023C. Second regime is 12A, 12A. Now, see this finance bill. They are telling I want to rationalize the provisions of both exemption regimes. Regime 1, Regime 2. Regime 1 is 1023C. Regime 2 is 12A, 12AAB. For what? Ensuring the effective monitoring implementation. Bringing provisions of the two regime and providing clarity in certain circumstances. Total income or institution, the second regime. What is that second regime, sir? First is 1023C, second regime is your 12A. Without giving effect to provisions of 11 and 12 exceeds maximum which is not chargeable tax required to get accounts audited. Similarly, provisions also exist under the first regime in the 10th proviso to 1023C. So it is there in both the regimes. However, there is no specific provision under the Act providing for the books of account to be maintained by such trust or institution. Now they are telling, in order to ensure proper implementation of both the exemption regimes, amendment is now made to clause B of subsection 1 of 12A, 10th proviso of 1023C, to provide that the total income of the trust or institution under both the regimes, without giving effect to provisions of 1023C or 11 and 12 exceeds maximum amount which is not chargeable tax, such trust or institution shall keep and maintain such books of accounts and documents in such form and manner as to be present. Very simple. Next. Please understand, sir, very important amendment made penalty for passing on unreasonable benefits to trustee or specified persons. So all of you know under section 13 of the Act, the trust or institutions under the second regime are required not to pass on unreasonable benefit to the trustee or any specified person. Who is a specified person defined in 13 within bracket 3? So therefore, in order to discourage such misuse of funds of the trust or institution, listen carefully. New section 271 AE is inserted in the Act to provide penalty on such trust or institution under both the regimes. Regime 1, regime 2, both 12A and 1023C. What is the penalty? Equal amount of income applied by such trust or institution for the benefit of specified person, where the violation is noticed for the first time during the previous year. Meaning to say, the trustees, specified persons, or the manager, etc., continue to utilize the funds of the trust or institution for their own personal selfish gains, then the amount, second time, your second penalty will be 200%. First penalty is 100%. You do it for the second time, twice the amount of such income where the violation is noticed again in any subsequent year. The proposed section seeks to operate without prejudice to any other provisions of Chapter 21. This penalty is applicable. Any other penalty of Chapter 21, that also will be applicable. In addition to the proposed penalty, that penalty would also be applicable. I think I have far exceeded my time. Although there are many provisions left to be completed, I thank all the organizations. I thank all the people who have logged in, and also I thank my good friend Rajesh Mehta for giving me the opportunity to address all of you. Thank you very much.
Right, sir. There is
Very wonderful.
like to request all panelists to come on screen for formal vote of thanks. First, formal vote of thanks. Would like to request Rajesh Mehta, our guide, we can say a backbone for this to
मनोज पारक जी, वो आपके इधर से थोड़ा सा शायद आपके पास दो चल रहे हैं क्या? कहीं से डबल नहीं जा रहा, कहीं से डबल नहीं जा रहा, आवाज दो से एक साथ लॉगिन किया इसलिए वॉइस डबल आ रहा है. अब शायद
over to you, Rajesh.
बाकी लोग अपना म्यूट कर लीजिए, या तो बाकी लोग म्यूट कर लीजिए। हाँ
जी
यस
सर,
विराट
जी
भाई, अब आप बोलिए, अब आइए, आपकी आवाज है सुनाइए, अब आइए। यस
जी सर। Sir, Rajesh sir, would like to request you to address the attendees, sir.
Thanks to Naveen Khariwal ji for dealing with all the important issues of this today's finance bill proposals, and thanks to all the participants of today's program. However, आज हमारे कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जो हिंदी में ज्यादा सुनना पसंद करते हैं, हिंदी में चर्चा पसंद करते हैं, किंतु नवीन खारीवाल साहब ने इतनी सिंपल भाषा में बोला है कि आई थिंक सभी हिंदी में चर्चा सुनने चाहने वालों को भी पूरा आनंद आया होगा। और उन्होंने, आप देखिए 3-4 घंटे का ही समय मिला, फिर भी उन्होंने बजट इस तरह से तैयार किया जैसे 10 दिन पहले से उन्हें बजट की सारे पॉइंट मालूम थे। इतना शॉर्ट समय में सारी पीपीटी रेडी करके ही हैज एक्सप्लेन्ड ईच एंड एवरी पॉइंट्स इन ए वेरी डिटेल्ड मैनर। इतना शानदार तरीके से उन्होंने हमसे डिस्कस किया है। तो अब आई थिंक कोई नया पॉइंट ऐसा अब बचता नहीं है जिस पर मैं चर्चा करूं। So thanks to all the participants and over to विराग जी। अगर विराग जी आप और कुछ कहना चाहें।
जी जी, मैं सीए रुपेश जैन सर को बुलाना चाहूंगा, who is the चीफ प्रोडक्ट ऑफिसर फॉर EMSME। हमारे MSME बंधुओं के लिए बहुत ही ज्यादा रोल रहा है इस बजट में भी, हमेशा की तरह। तो रुपेश जैन जी, हमने आपको आगे रिकॉग्नाइज किया था, बट नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट यू टू एड्रेस द अटेंडेंस।
Thank you all. Thank you, Naveen ji, for throwing lights on the provisions of the budget in a short time. It was really great to see those things. And with respect to MSME, तो पूरा बजट में काफी फोकस रहा है, as the focus is not on the revenue, the expense side more this time. तो MSME का फोकस है with respect to ECLJ scheme या CGMTCME scheme, तीनों चारों स्कीम्स पे काफी फोकस है। रैम्प है MSME प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाने के लिए। सो वी एक्सपेक्ट the MSMEs will play a crucial role.
खारीवाल जी, जैन साहब, सुरेंद्र मेहता जी, मैं सभी को दिल से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। आपने खारीवाल जी इतना डिटेल्ड बजट के बारे में जो बताया, आई रियली अप्रिशिएट। You have covered each and everything in a very short period of time. And राजेश जी, आपका तो आपने जो एक्सप्लेनेशन किया, it is really आज भले हिंदी में बोलो या इंग्लिश में बोलो, परंतु हर पहलू को आपने कवर अप किया और सबको ढंग से समझाया। ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। विराट जी को मैं स्पेशल धन्यवाद दूंगा कि उन्होंने मुझे इनवाइट किया, सुरेंद्र जी मेहता को इनवाइट किया, और आज कुछ कारणवश विनीत जी कोठारी जज साहब आज नहीं आ पाए, कारण उनकी तबीयत ठीक नहीं थी। उन्होंने सब लोगों से अपनी तरफ से माफी मांगी कि मेरी तबीयत ठीक होने के कारण मैं पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर पा रहा हूं, और इसीलिए फिर शॉर्ट नोटिस पे सुरेंद्र जी को मैंने रिक्वेस्ट करके बुलाया, जिससे गोल्ड और सिल्वर और अपना बुलियन मार्केट को भी अपन कवर कर सके। तो एक बार मैं सभी को अपने दिल से धन्यवाद देता हूं, और इस तरीके की वेबिनार टाइम टू टाइम विराट जी करते रहे, जिससे पीपल एट लार्ज सबको बेनिफिट होना चाहिए। और आज यूट्यूब पे आज काफी लोग ये देख रहे हैं, ट्विटर पे देख रहे हैं, फेसबुक पे देख रहे हैं, तो आज कंटिन्यूसली आज ये ज्ञान सबको बांटने से ही फायदा होता है। और ये विराट जी ने अपना ये जो अपना उद्देश्य रखा है कि ज्ञान को बांटे जाओ, तो मैं उनको अपनी तरफ से धन्यवाद देता हूँ। थैंक यू वेरी मच टू ईच एंड एवरी पार्टिसिपेंट। कोई नाम मेरे से रह गया हो धन्यवाद देने के लिए, तो मेरा धन्यवाद जरूर स्वीकार कीजिए। थैंक यू वेरी मच। थैंक्स टू ऑल।
आप हमारे हमेशा गाइड रहे हो। मैं तेज प्रकाश डांगी जी, प्रेसिडेंट तेरापंथ प्रोफेसर मुंबई को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि सर आप शुरू में जुड़ नहीं पाए थे, दिलसुख साहब जी ने बहुत ही अच्छे से सबका वेलकम किया, आप 2 शब्द कहिए जी। तेज प्रकाश सर।
आवाज आ रही सर?
जी सर, जी सर।
सबसे पहले विराट जी आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि बजट के सेम डे आपने वेबिनार ऑर्गेनाइज किया और इतना ब्यूटीफुल मैं एक्चुअली मोबाइल पे था, इसलिए मोबाइल पे था पहले आधा घंटा, उसके बाद में मैं कंप्यूटर पे आके ज्वाइन किया। आई एम सॉरी, मैं ट्रेवल पे था, थोड़ा सा गाड़ी में था, और हमारे दिलखुश जी ने एक वेलकम किया सबका, और पर्टिकुलरली कारीवाल जी ने जो एक्सप्लेनेशन बजट पर, पर्टिकुलर टैक्सेशन पर जो उन्होंने एकदम इतना सही तरीके से एक्सप्लेन किया कि हर बंदे को, हर सुनने वाले को पूरे टैक्स लॉज में क्या क्या अमेंडमेंट हुए वो सबको मालूम चला इससे। और जो निर्मला सीतारमण जी ने तो सिर्फ बोला 5 मिनट 10 मिनट में टैक्सेशन पे खत्म कर दिया, पर इन्होंने 2 घंटे में पूरा एक्सप्लेन किया कि इसमें 84 और प्लस अमेंडमेंट्स हुए हैं और इतने चेंजेस हुए हैं, उसको एक सरल भाषा में जो एक्सप्लेन किया उसके लिए हरिवाल जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और मेहता जी का, जिन्होंने स्टार्ट में ये क्रिप्टो करेंसी पे अपनी ओपिनियन दी कि ये एक बहुत गलत चलन अपनी युवा पीढ़ी में आने वाली है, उससे सबको सावधान रखना है, उसके लिए उनको धन्यवाद। और सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को टीपीएफ मुंबई, टीपीएफ नेशनल की तरफ से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और साधुवाद कि इस तरह का आप वेबिनार रखें और सभी को इसका लाभ मिले। और नेक्स्ट अपन कैपिटल मार्केट पे भी आप कर रहे हैं परसों के दिन, उसके लिए भी बहुत बहुत शुभकामना। ओम भारत।
सर, मैं सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि 3 तारीख को जो हम प्रोग्राम कर रहे हैं संदीप जैन के जेम्स स्टॉक्स, तो कैपिटल मार्केट पे क्या इफेक्ट आने वाला है और कौन कौन से स्टॉक्स बढ़ने चाहिए या घटने चाहिए और पूरा इकोनॉमी पे क्या क्या डेवलपमेंट्स होंगे, क्या ग्रोथ होगी या नहीं होगी, सब कुछ समझने के लिए आप हमारे साथ में 3 तारीख को सभी लोग, सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स जो भी आज के प्रोग्राम को सुन रहे हैं, सभी से रिक्वेस्ट है कि सब अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑनलाइन करवा सकते हैं, फ्री ऑफ चार्ज है। और ये भी एक ज्ञान की बातें हैं जो विराट जी ने ये प्रोग्राम रखा है, तो सभी को आपको अटेंड करना है। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू दोस्त साहब। संदीप जी जैन साहब के जेम्स के नाम से फेमस है, बहुत ही अच्छा प्रवक्ता है और बहुत ही नॉलेज उनको है कैपिटल मार्केट का, क्या बजट के डिफरेंट पहलू कौन से सेक्टर में होंगे वो पूरा बताएंगे। 3 तारीख को 5:30 बजे है, तो सभी को मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा। मैं सभी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा कि इसमें जुड़े। मैं पहले सभी को एक बार और मौका दूंगा। गुलाब जी, आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे? मनोज पारेख जी भी है, दिलसुख शाह जी भी है, नीरज भाई भी है, तो आई थिंक नाउ फ्लोर इज ओपन, वी कैन हैव अ वोट ऑफ थैंक्स फॉर नवीन जी एज वेल। एंड किसी को भी कोई भी रह गया हो तो वो अपनी तरफ से बोल सकता है। समीर भाई ने भी शुरू में बोला है तो वो भी अपना बोल सकते हैं। तो मैं मनोज जी को रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा पहले। मनोज जी, आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे सर? मनोज जी, आप अनम्यूट करिए अपने आप को।
थैंक यू। आज का ये बजट सेशन बहुत ही अच्छा था। मैं आप सभी लोगों को धन्यवाद देता हूं, खासतौर से नवीन जी ने जिस तरीके से समझाया, नो डाउट मजा आ गया। अब हम चाहेंगे कि आगे भी उन्हें सुने। मैं टैक्स लॉ बार एसोसिएशन भोपाल की तरफ से उनको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि बहुत ही अच्छे से उन्होंने हमको गाइड किया। और मैं उनसे रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं कि फ्यूचर में हम चाहेंगे कि भोपाल बार जब कुछ भी ऑर्गेनाइज करे तो आपकी हम सहमति लेना चाहेंगे टॉपिक्स पे। तो मैं विराग जी से आपका नंबर लेके आपके साथ कोऑर्डिनेट करूंगा, है ना। थैंक यू सो मच। राजेश जी, आप तो सब मतलब बहुत ही अच्छे स्पीकर हैं, इंदौर से हम सुनते हैं उनको, बहुत ही शानदार है। नरेश जी, आपको साधुवाद, आप हमेशा हम सब लोगों को सहयोग करते हैं उसके लिए। और आप सभी लोग जहां से भी टैक्स लॉ बार एसोसिएशन और जितने भी संस्थाओं से सब लोग जुड़े, उन सबको धन्यवाद। और विराग जी, आपको तो ढेर सारा धन्यवाद। इसी तरह यूथ बन के आप सबका मदद के लिए आगे बढ़े। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू। गुलाब जी, बोलना चाहेंगे? गुलाब जी केडिया फ्रॉम रायपुर।
सबसे पहले मैं विराग भाई को धन्यवाद दूंगा जिन्होंने इतने अच्छे सेमिनार का आयोजन किया, इतने सारे एसोसिएशन को कनेक्ट किया। और नवीन भाई जैसे फैकल्टी को ढूंढा बोलना चाहिए। मैं पहले से नहीं जानता था नवीन भाई को, लेकिन आज उनका सेमिनार सुन के काफी अच्छा लगा। नवीन भाई को विशेष धन्यवाद। बाकी आप सभी एसोसिएशन का धन्यवाद और उम्मीद करता हूँ आगे हम सब जुड़ के ऐसा ज्ञान का प्रसार करते रहेंगे। धन्यवाद।
जी जी जी, थैंक यू। दिलसुख भाई शाह, दिलसुख भाई सर, दिलखुश भाई सर।
यस विराट जी, आई थिंक हमारे प्रेसिडेंट टीपी जी ने ऑलरेडी बोल दिया है। जस्ट मैं इतना ऐड करना चाहूंगा कि 6:40 पे जैसे ही इंट्रोडक्शन प्रोग्राम खत्म हुआ और नवीन जी ने जैसे ही अपने हाथ में माइक संभाला तो 1.5 घंटा कैसे निकल गया पता ही नहीं चला है। जो अपेरेंटली ऐसा लग रहा था कि टैक्सेशन में कुछ नहीं है, और जब नवीन जी ने अंदर से खोद खोद के 80 अमेंडमेंट निकाले, अब ऐसा लगने जा रहा है कि प्रैक्टिस जो करना है दिन प्रतिदिन बहुत कठिन होता जा रहा है कि इतने सारे प्रोविजन हम कितना भी ध्यान रखें कभी ना कभी एस्केप हो जाते हैं हमारे से भी। तो जितना गवर्नमेंट इतना सारे प्रोविजन को स्ट्रिक्ट कर रही है, तो आज जैसे नवीन जी से सुना तो काफी अच्छा लगा कि डिटेल पे ध्यान ही नहीं रहा कि 1.5 घंटा कैसे चला गया। बार बार नवीन जी को भी आगे भी सुनना चाहेंगे, काफी इंटरेस्टिंग सेशन रहा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद नवीन जी। साथ ही राजेश जी मेहता और नरेश जी दूध, आपका भी धन्यवाद करता हूं कि प्रोग्राम को आपने सही दिशा के साथ संभाला, और सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के डिग्निटरीज हैं, आप सभी का भी धन्यवाद कि पहली बार इतने सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हम साथ मिलकर कर रहे हो, तो सारे सभी के मेंबर भी देख रहे होंगे, तो जितने ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग इसको सुने होंगे उनको काफी फायदा और पहुंचा रहेगा ताकि वो अपने काम और सही तरीके से इन्फॉर्म डिसीजन ले सके। और थैंक यू विराट वंस अगेन।
थैंक यू सो मच। मैं नवीन सर का धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा। हमेशा सपोर्टिव रहते हैं फ्रेटर्निटी के लिए, इवन जैन समाज के लिए। जैसे आज 13 प्रोफेशनल फोरम मुंबई जुड़ा है, कल उनका बेंगलोर में प्रोग्राम है, उसके 2 दिन बाद कलकत्ता में प्रोग्राम है, तो एक ही वीक में 3 दिन प्रोग्राम 13 समाज को देना, जैन समाज को देना एक बहुत बड़ी बात है। थैंक यू सो मच नवीन सर, जो हमें मौका मिला, इतने सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आज जुड़े, आपने बहुत ही अच्छा एक्सप्लेन किया। 84 अमेंडमेंट हम सुबह जब सुन रहे थे लग रहा था कुछ भी नहीं है बजट में, लेकिन आपने जो हिसाब से पूरा एक्सप्लेन किया और इतने कम टाइम में जो आपने प्रिपेयर किया, when we are thinking that on day one we have to give, then we also thought that at the time of requesting sir that is possible now, whether we can have a 5-6 hours only for preparation, and sir has done a fantastic job in a 5-6 hours. Entire presentation is ready. So we are very thankful to you, sir, for the fantastic presentation. We always we will keep calling you again and again on behalf of all the association organization. Already requesting, we'll share your number with all the organization as well, and we require your service at many professional forums, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
sir.
So friends, we'll meet again on 3rd 5:30 PM. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you Virat ji. Thank you Rajesh.
थैंक यू सर, सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।